Everybody's had a Philly cheesesteak before, but have you had a good Philly cheesesteak? Let's get started. I'm gonna start by putting the prime rib in the freezer for about 30 minutes to get it nice and firm so I can slice it. Now I'm gonna take these white mushrooms and I'm gonna dice them up and get them ready to cook on the stove. You don't wanna dice these too thin because they are gonna cook down. And I am using the stems as well. Now mushrooms and bell peppers are completely optional. I like those in my Philly cheesesteaks. Bell peppers especially is not traditional, but hey, you make what you like. We're not in Philly today, boys. Really, you can make this however you want, as long as it's got bread and meat and whiz. Now that I've chopped up all these mushrooms, I'm gonna move them on over to the stove on a medium heat with a little bit of vegetable oil. And start adding these mushrooms. Make sure and splash a good bit of hot oil right on your arm. A little bit for my homies. These mushrooms are gonna cook down, so don't worry about filling the pan up too much, but you do wanna keep it on a nice high heat. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of salt. And some fresh cracked pep. You can see that I pretty much rendered all of the moisture out of these mushrooms. Now I want to get them just a little bit crispy. All right, those are done. We can move them on over to this bowl to cool down. Now that the mushrooms are finished, I'm going to dice up these bell peppers. You can just cut down the ribs. That way you don't have to fool with the seeds. Now that I've sliced the ribs down, I can just cut this bell pepper into long slices. Now I can just turn these sideways and dice them up. Using the same pan, I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. And now I'm gonna add these green bell peppers. No need to clean the pan, do anything different. Dump these bad boys in. Again, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, about a tablespoon, some fresh cracked pep. Now just to saute these green bell peppers over a medium heat. Now if these bell peppers are nice and soft, I'm gonna transfer them over to this bowl where they'll continue to steam and I'll get started on these onions. Next, I'm gonna finely chop 2 white onions. With the onions diced, I'm gonna add a little bit more oil to my pan. I'm on a medium heat, and now I'm gonna caramelize these onions. I've already added pepper to everything, so I'm just gonna add some salt to the onions to help bring some of that moisture out. Now you can see that I've got these onions nice and caramelized. Smells amazing in here. And again, I'm gonna transfer these over to a bowl to cool. Now I've got the mushrooms, the bell pepper, the onions. And now it's time for some whiz. Now I'm ready to heat up the whiz. I'm gonna take 1/4 cup of milk, add it to this pot. Now I'm gonna add some whiz. You wanna heat this over a low heat. We don't want it to boil. It'll start to separate. As you can see here, we pretty much have the perfect consistency. Finally, I'm gonna take this ribeye and thinly slice it. You wanna try and go as thin as possible. They don't have to be even, uniform. Doesn't really matter. We're just looking for thin. Now I'm gonna take just a little bit of oil. And now to add my steak. Now I just wanna mix this up. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, a little fresh cracked pep, and we're moving. Hibachi. Now I want a little bit of color to this. Some of it's starting to get a little bit of crisp, a little bit of color to it. That's what I want on all my meat. All right, it looks like the meat's about finished here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our toppings. Little mushrooms, right down the middle. Maybe a lot of mushrooms. Bell pepper. Nice even line down the middle. Some onion. And now the star of the show, a little bit of whiz, a little bit of Cheese Whiz. Not too much now, I'm gonna add a little bit more here in a minute. And finally, I'm gonna take my bun, lay it across the top, let it steam. Boom. Almost finished. It smells so good in here, you can't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. You can believe it because you can make this at home now that I've showed you how to do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and make this Philly cheesesteak because you're gonna love it. Okay, I've got the bun steamed. Add our cheesesteak. A little bit more Cheese Whiz here, as liberal as you'd like. I like a lot of Cheese Whiz in mine. Now it's time to try it. No surprise there. That's so good. Every time it's good. It's so good. You can't just eat one. You need to like 5. If you like the recipe, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Check out another amazing recipe here. Cheese Whiz.